think we're living through a fascinating time in that work has been the same largely. There've been a few small changes, but largely the same for maybe 200 years since the Industrial Revolution. And really quickly now, as we move into remote working and other forms of working, that's all changing. At the same time, the work at work is changing too. So you asked about Waterloo, Jeff, and the big thing for us was the movement online in the spring. And the big uncertainty is what things will look like afterwards. We know that students want to come back. At least about 2/3 of them want to come back. And then we have another third that are, very much like being online, are worried about coming back just because of the virus, and they may have conditions, or people in their family have pre-existing conditions. So dealing with all that and what new models will look like. Are we going to have to teach in classroom and online at the same time? What will the new educational models be? That sort of thing is important at the moment and undefined.
Certainly, anxiety is heightened, during these challenging times. The physical workspace, in terms of whether it's safe, secure, monitored, free of viruses, in terms of the air quality that we basically live and work in. We are certainly committed to creating an environment that employees want to return to, that feel safe, that feel secure. From an employer and technology perspective, we are basically focusing on workplace technologies that address touchless, that address contactless, that improve or monitor air quality so that it gives employees a sense of relief around what they're coming back to. In addition to that, it's also important to provide employees with a sense of tranquility around, the attestation of who is entering the building, as well as, the concerns around cafeterias and washrooms. And can I enter a boardroom and not feel that I'm going to be, my health is going to be threatened? So certainly the technologies that we're talking about are starting to address those concerns and anxiety of the employee that certainly challenges the return to work.
We used to have customers coming to us, and there was a very easy way to provide them with what they wanted. Now we need to go to our customers, and it's a completely different lay of land to satisfy the need and the way that each customers want. And with those extended channels, there are extended likes and dislikes that are being added. So many new way that a customer will demand brands like us to act and behave. One of the major barrier to me is to actually just building the solution without at the end truly having customer in mind. Building a technology without looking at the people that are going to use it. With the recent addition of the UX and industry around how to build a solution that it is truly for your customer, we are seeing better and better outcome that it is coming, the more meaningful solution that are coming. But to me, at the end of the day, it is all about actually having that intimate relationship with your customer. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to answer everything that comes your way. There is not enough resource in the world for your organization to be able to do that. But even those that you are listening to, truly listening and be present for them, when they are asking for something that they need to see the result and change, to listen, to do the empathy with them, and then apply. So to me, the biggest barrier is our mindset. The fact that we think we know what is best for the customer, as opposed to actually listening to them and hearing from them what is the best for them and then applying it.
I joined Equitable 7 years ago and built this very new, technology stack. It was a bank that was born digital. 99 point something percent of our interactions with customers happen in the mobile app or the website. The remainder that where a customer needs to talk to someone, the majority of those are in chat. So very, very few, even phone, and certainly no in person. We don't have a single branch. And so really the EQ Bank side, with about 90% of the customers, was able to scale when we had an event like the pandemic, which drove volumes through the roof. So we had been signing up about 60 people a day in EQ Bank before the pandemic. And at the height of maybe last April or May, we were signing up 600 people a day and growing very quickly and doubled the size of the bank in under 2 years. So that wasn't the side that was worrisome. I was able to get the entire company working from home in 10 days, didn't have to cut any security corners, including the contact center. But on the mortgage side is where we struggled a bit. And it wasn't necessarily a technology problem. There were some technology problems. But what we found was that neither the tech they were using nor their processes could scale when the government announces, without sort of giving anyone a heads up, saying, hey, we're going to have loan deferrals for mortgages. It's the right thing to do. No one argued. But everyone said, wait, what does that mean? How do I do this? The volumes are going to be absolutely through the roof. And so we had to very quickly re-engineer processes, a lot of which had been designed, frankly, assuming that you were sitting next to the person that you had to talk to about the next step, or almost hand over pieces of paper in some cases. So we had to very quickly transition to different tech and, more importantly, different processes. And so we had to very quickly train people on what asynchronous work queues were going to look like and how to deal with things that way, as opposed to a very serial way of treating every problem, which was, I'm going to email this person, they're going to do this, then they're going to email this person that does this. And so a lot of process reengineering on top of, or even in advance of, the tech change that was really keeping us, I think, from not engaging customers. We had almost more customer engagement than you could deal with in a pandemic, but really making sure that we service them properly and resolve their problems. That was the tricky part. So not kind of what we saw, or not what we expected when we looked around the corner, but that's what the actual challenge was.
I think when considering, the challenges and the barriers as it relates to customer engagement and how we address those, I think the first thing is a shift in mindset, right? And that shift is, an understanding that there is no return to normal, but rather just an ongoing transitioning to the next normal, which I think, is still being defined in itself. I think customers have, and they continue to adopt new channels. Competition continues to intensify. And standards have risen. Customers' expectations and their standards continue to elevate. And I think it's absolutely true. The only thing that we see that's constant, is change. I think everybody still has that long-standing quest to understand their customers and ultimately understand how to win their loyalty and market share. But I think it's become more complex to get that understanding that we need from a customer perspective. At the root of it, the problem, the biggest ones I see is antiquated processes, organizational structures, infrastructure, and data technology that have not caught up to the pace of the change and what customers are expecting and needing. At the heart of it, we need to reconsider standards of customer engagement, operating models that are in place today, and nearly every other criteria that we may have taken for granted, in the past. One of the things I think it boils down to is having that single source of the truth, right? To orchestrate connected and differentiated experiences for the customers. And I know that term gets thrown around quite a bit, single source of the truth. What does that mean? It can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But the one thing I do want to address is there's this perception out there that in order to get to that single source of the truth, there's a lot of heavy lifting to get to that outcome. And that, in fact, is not the case. With an agile platform in place and an effective API strategy, antiquated technological debt, if you want, data infrastructure should not be the reason to allow you to achieve the desired end goals in terms of the overall digital transformation and the customer engagement that we need. And then once you get to that single source of the truth, how you visualize that data as actionable insights, how you share it, how you collaborate around it, that becomes your data culture moving forward. And the last thing I'll leave is employees shouldn't be left out of the equation. One of the biggest goals should be to make it easy for employees to make it easier for customers. And that's going to drive the level of customer engagement and optimization that I think we're all trying to achieve.